Hey, welcome back everyone. Rob here from Ram Studio Comics. So in today's video, we're going to be drawing some creature arms, hands and arms. I guess they could also be legs because they're creatures. They could have all kinds of weird appendages, right? And I start off with a human arm, but then I was quickly like, nah, this is too boring. I've done enough of these. Let's do some more creature stuff, and I segue into that. I wanted to share this still though because I think that whenever you do explore different ideas, it's still good to kind of base it off what you know about human anatomy. And because really the idea of creature concepts is mixing it all together, right? Taking everything that you know about nature around you and different animals, aquatic, insects, whatever, humanoid, and then mixing that all together in sort of a big kind of genetic gumbo and then exploring it through your illustrative process. So for me, one of the things I love about doing this, probably the biggest thing that I like the most about this, is the fact that because I'm drawing whatever comes to mind, I have no preconceived notion of what's right and wrong, and in regards to proportions, in regards to anatomy and combination of different things. I can literally just draw whatever pops into my melon. I think that is so important. Not only does it get you very excited and kind of energized to be creative, you can stumble upon some really good ideas. Likewise, I think that these become excellent resources for reference sheets. So I save them on my DeviantArt. You can go there and download a copy of this art if you want. And so I catalog the art. I also make sure that when I save the files on my computer, I put keywords in there that I can easily reference, whether it be arm poses or anatomy or monsters or whatever, so that I can easily search them later. So, but again, it just becomes really great food for thought and information for later. But the thing I noticed about this, and I really wanted to share in today's video, is just the feeling of creativity that it inspires. And so there's these times that I'm drawing and I'm trying to come up with the next idea, and I'm trying to constantly improve. And I'll get to a real stumbling block of like, I just can't think anything, and I just don't know what I'm excited to draw next. And that can be a real downer, it seems to happen. I mean, I've drawn for a lot of years, but what I tend to find is when I do this stuff, I really kind of let go, just create whatever, let my mind wander, and then all of a sudden I have more ideas, and the ideas start to flourish on the page better than they did before. So it's almost like it frees up some creative block, this art block that I seem to deal with quite frequently. And I think the reason that is because when we're looking at this canvas, right, this blank white canvas, there's a lot of anxiety and fear that gets attached to it. Like, oh, is this going to be a good piece? Is this going to be better than work I've created before? We set up all these mental roadblocks on ourselves. It's just really silly, but it happens. We're constantly trying to improve, right? And I see this with students all the time. They're constantly worrying themselves to death. And I think what happens when you do this type of stuff, it alleviates that, because again, there's no right or wrong. You're just literally allowing yourself to explore ideas and express them on the page. It's also why I like inking right over the sketch. I mean, I kind of refined some of the sketch, but not much. And if you notice, when I'm inking it, I'm making decisions on the fly. Again, I'm allowing myself to explore ideas and not worrying too much about right or wrong. I mean, don't get me wrong, if it looks horrible, I'm going to fix it. But if it just doesn't look that bad, I'm going to let it slide, because this is more of the process of allowing myself to be creative and, again, not so much accountability. Where when you draw a character that's very iconic, then there's lots of areas where you can stop and go, oh, this just isn't coming out right. This doesn't look like them. I don't like it anymore. And then you move on to the next thing and the next thing. And hopefully that doesn't become a habit, because it can really hinder your growth. But again, doing stuff like this, where you allow yourself to just be forgiving during the process and explore ideas and have fun, usually will leave you feeling pretty excited for creating that next piece. And then maybe you can move into something that is more iconic and more, considered a certain way that you would create it. Again, like a character like a Spider-Man or Hulk or Thor or whoever you like, they have certain identities and looks that you're really going to try to capture. But I love this stuff. Like, creature design is just fun and just a neat way to get going and develop ideas. And you got to do this stuff anyways, because even if you are going to draw superhero comics or whatever it is, there's always almost always a monster, an alien, something, right? Sci-fi is so, I guess sci-fi fantasy is so tied into every storyline these days that you got to do this stuff anyways. But again, I think it's actually just a really great way to spark creativity, and that's what I've found with doing this. And so yeah, hopefully you see that as well. And you see there's a couple of them. I drew this weird bird foot and all this stuff. There's a couple of them I drew, and then I just didn't like the initial start, and I got it right out of there. The other part of that is that basically I want to make sure that there's that initial excitement. And so I talk about thumbnailing a lot. And if you're drawing a scene where it's a bunch of superheroes and stuff like that, the thumbnail is way more important in my mind than what we're doing here. But those thumbnails, you should be able to sense the initial excitement and energy for that piece in that rough sketch. If you don't, get it out of there. And that's why you see me delete a couple of those. It wasn't there, wasn't feeling it. Why move forward with it? So sometimes we just have to be aware that we're not, overworking something that just initially didn't work in the first place. It's actually pretty simple, but it's hard to spot that. I think that as you get better at it, you really start to spot the flaws earlier in your work. And that's like, oh, of course I wouldn't render that. The anatomy's off, the proportions are off, or whatever. So things like that. So just remember, if the initial sketch, the thumbnail isn't working, don't waste your time. Get that right first. So hopefully you liked today's video. If you have, let me know. And let me know what works for you in sparking your creativity as well. Also, I'll make sure there's a link in the description box below for the copy of this artwork if you want to download it from my DeviantArt. And then also a link to my creature design course. Always appreciate the support. So as always, keep drawing, keep having fun, and bye for now.